So today we're going to talk about two different topics. We're going to first talk about, well, technically one topic, what it relates to midfights. We've already in this though, we're going to talk about two different topics. First is how deaths work and how spawns work. So what I mean, when I'm talking about deaths, I mean if we lose someone or if they lose someone. Okay. So let's first start with deaths. So in the composition, everyone hopefully knows it is Winston, Sojourn, Reaper, Lucio, Kiriko. Okay, so very simply, if you think about this, who are the most important people in this composition?
Reaper,
Yes.
Winston, Kiriko.
Yes, Kiriko. Okay, why is Reaper important?
Damage,
Damage. Cool. Why is Winston important?
bubble, and probably the
Just
ability
like,
to take space.
yeah,
Space.
space. Why is Kiriko important? Heals.
Heals.
Yep. So now, logically, okay, let's sort of do it in both ways. Let's first say, let's use green. So this is if we lose, let's first say, okay. So if we lose Winston, what's the action? If we lose Sojourn, what's the action? If we lose Reaper, what's the action? If we lose Lucio, what's the action? If we lose Kiriko, what's the action? Okay, and then we'll also do likewise if they lose. Okay, if we lose Winston, what do you think we should do?
Is this like I mean, 'cause I feel like we want to look for trades depending on the distance, but
Okay, I will do it this way. Joey's already one step ahead. Distance small, distance long. Okay. So if distance is small, we lose Winston. What do we do?
Look for trade.
Okay. Different distance long.
Disengage or poke.
So we kite,
Second.
bait, try and punish. Yeah. Kite, bait, punish. Okay. If we lose our sojourn.
I would say same for trade.
So if distance is long, actually that's still fine. Right, punish. Okay. What about Reaper?
Play range and then hope your surgeon gets a pick.
So it's the same thing here. Okay. For
Mhm.
distance short,
Trade, yeah.
same. Okay. Lucio.
I think trade.
Okay. What about distance long?
I think this one. I'm trying to think. So I think it's kind of the same, but I think it's just harder for like kiting. So I think it's more like bait punish because I don't think you can kite as well.
Okay. Kiriko.
Same.
Okay. So now let me ask you this. Obviously, all these are looking at trade, right? So like this is like duh. But now the question is, what is the time? Like how fast do we need to trade if we go with Winston? Do we need to trade fast if we lose our Winston?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
Extremely fast.
this is like a really fast trade, okay? Sojourn, do we need to go to fast trade?
No, not really.
Not really.
We can sort of like, maybe like abuse positioning, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't need to go fast. Oh man. Okay, Reaper.
Fast.
Fast trade.
Depends.
Okay,
So
why
I
does it
think
depend?
if your monkey is in with the Reaper and your Reaper dies, you have to get a fast trade or else your monkey gets blown up. But if your monkey's not there in any danger, you can kind of play. You have to play as fast because they won't be able to do anything.
You're thinking too far into that, bro.
Not really, because if
I mean,
your
we kind
monkey's
of
not
just
in
have
any
to.
danger,
If
who
your
are you afraid of?
Winston,
You
if
just
your
play
Winston
along.
isn't in, your point is not wrong. But if your Winston is not in, that means are you actually close?
No.
Then you're long. Hence, it's going to be
Yeah.
this, right?
But I mean, you could be close if your monkey has jump. You still don't have to look for a fast trade.
Sure,
Most damage in the comp, bro.
sure.
I don't. I feel like if you have to like leave like you just can't play the game if the Reaper's
I think
up.
the only time I'd maybe say is if there's verticality. If there's verticality you can abuse and play more for your sojourn, then sure, you're absolutely right. But otherwise, I think you're going to have to go for a fast trade. Does that make sense? Fast trade, maybe verticality. Because otherwise, they would just run you down. So your point's not wrong, but if there's verticality, then you can maybe play slow. But otherwise, you're going for a fast trade. Lucio?
I feel like for both supports, it's fast because you just have less healing.
Yep. And Kiriko really fast. Okay.
Yeah.
So generally, what I'm getting at now, you're hopefully noticing, is that, and for Lucio, like I actually don't think it's necessarily fast, actually, because again, you can maybe like abuse map environment. So you can maybe abuse verticality, or you could like bait, like you don't have to do as much. So the real three ones that are like really critical is Kiriko, Reaper, and Winston. Okay, and what I want you to understand now is that's just one person. In a situation we saw earlier where we lost both our Reaper and our Sojourn, that's drastic. That's where we say we're down our damage. It's going to be very hard to turn this fight. If we lose our Winston and our Kiriko, that is very hard to win that fight. So you need to understand based off how we lose not just one person but multiple people, especially if the multiple people are two of these like out of these three, that is going to make it very hard for us. Okay? Now we go into a bit more interesting stuff. So now we look at if they lose, okay? If they lose their Winston, how do you think we should play? Think about it like this. If we lose our Winston, what are we trying to do? We're trying to trade, right? So if they lose their Winston, what do you think we should do?
Slow.
Wait for
Yeah,
cooldowns.
it feels like it's like almost reversed for most of like the impactful characters, and I think it's a little different depending if it's like Sojourn or Lucio.
Exactly. So the impactful characters, we know that they're going to trade. So what we want to do is like make sure we have like full HP. We want like full HP or close to it. We want CDs. Why? Because if they use an alt to try and push back in with us, right, which we know that can happen, we lose our Winston, they beat, and they go really hard and try and maybe kill our Sojourn. If we have full HP and we have our CDs, then hopefully our Sojourn should be able to live, hopefully. So if we have this, then we can push. Otherwise, while we're waiting, what are we doing since they don't have a Winston?
Taking
Like-
space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
corralling them.
Take space, hard poke. These two things, okay? If they lose, we'll come back to Sojourn Reaper. It's the same thing. Do you guys agree?
Mhm.
Full HP or close to it. We want our CDs. Like hard push, especially for our front line, because our front line should just live. And while it's happening, we can take space. And we can hard poke too. I would say hard brawl actually. Hard brawl. Okay. Hard brawl for space. So it's technically under take space. For Kiriko, it's the same thing again. Full HP or close to it. Get our CDs, and while it's happening, then we can push for we hard poke. Hard poke, and then we go really aggro because we'll eventually force CDs, force their CDs. Okay, so now for Reaper, Sojourn, Lucio. This is a little bit more different. This is for Sojourn. What happens if they lose their Sojourn? What do we do?
Poke.
Give me more description than that.
Try to make the fight longer.
So I'll give you more. Our Sojourn should be way more aggro. Our Sojourn should be more aggressive. And I would also add that since our Sojourn doesn't exist, we're not scared of one tap anymore. Does that make sense? Okay. For Lucio, what about this? They can't what anymore?
Run.
They can't kite. Hence it's like, yeah, we can play very fast. We can go for like fast kills. Fast kills or like alts. But again, you still need to like make sure we have CDs, an HP, full HP. I'm not gonna go the whole thing. Just make sure that we don't get traded. Just stabilize for literally 1 second. So going just like I did Sojourn, notice how our Sojourn can go more aggressive because no one tap, and whereas our team can go more aggressive. Is there some advantage we also have when the Winston dies? They have no bubble. What does that mean we can do more of?
Play way more aggro.
Yeah, in general, our range damage just can do more, right? So our range damage can do more. People can be up a bit more front. There's not much cleave, so we can just in general we can be more brawly. For Reaper, what does this mean? Since they have no Reaper, what can we do? This is an interesting one.
Front line more, or maybe
Our front line definitely just wins, but that's not fully it. Our Reaper can flank actually now too. Does our Reaper need to play with our Winston?
No.
Reaper
No.
can like flank if needed. If needed. Not saying that's even good, Lambent, but that's an idea. Okay. And then if they're down Kiriko, that means that they have no Zuzu. Hence, we have a Zuzu advantage.
Zuzu is the most annoying thing to deal with whenever you we're down. Like if the enemy is like spamming Zuzu, if we lose somebody, I don't even know what you do. It's so good.
This is wait, this was Reaper. Oh, this is bubble advantage. We can like play for that. We can play for Zuzu advantage. We can play for bubble advantage. Okay. Here, obviously, you're playing for damage advantage. Okay. Any questions about this? This is like all really obvious, but it's more so in the mid fight when we lose 2 people. We should realize that we probably aren't going to be able to turn this, and we don't waste it unless it's like 10 seconds left and we have to. We don't waste ultimates. We maybe go for hard trades and we go from there. Now, why do I say trading is so important? Well, this is a 5v5 game, and essentially now this will lead into spawns, but when we trade, especially like if we lose, let's say 2 people, so now it is a 3v5, and then we get 1 trade, so it is a 3v4, and then as 3 we kite and live. The other 2 people who died can come back and make this a 5v4, and then we can essentially win if this enemy team still tries to hold space. If they back up too, which is good for us, then we get to take map control, which is very OP for our Sojourn and our team in general.
No matches? That's when we're close.
Let's fix that.
So now the reason why I bring this up is not because of the whole trades thing, is because now we're going to look at spawns. Spawns are really, really critical in Overwatch 2 because trading can happen so much and you can use that to our benefit. So when we look at situations like I'm about to show you here, when we look at here, when we're doing push maps, it gets very interesting because once we cap this point right over here, our spawns go up. And our spawns don't go back till what? This is pushed over here, correct?
Yeah.
So let's say we push over here and, we decide we want to maybe play over here. Let me get Epic Pen out. We want to play over here, which is like not a bad spot. Enemy team comes in, and because right now we have an inherent spawn advantage, right? We're over here, the fight's happening right over here, we have a spawn advantage.
Yeah.
If we play natural environment and we get trades, who's likely to win this?
Yeah, yes, we are.
Even if we don't win this fight right over here, the next fight we will most likely win. Or they will be forced to back up again and we can take space again here. And the idea for this is in situations when we are down ult economy. If they have 5 ultimates and we have like 2, and we just capped here, we have spawn advantage, we cannot be thinking about just this fight that's happening right now. We can be thinking about the next fight that'll probably happen somewhere over here. So we can go do our best here and do our absolute best to try and win this. But if it doesn't work, maybe we force ultimates and we get maybe 1 or 2 kills. And we die fast. So then the rest time we come here as 5. They only have 2 people. They only have maybe 3 people because we killed 2. So it's a 3v5. And then because of that, we're able to force them back or we kill them. And then we're able to go back and push more. And then we can honestly just keep pushing up and maybe force constant staggers. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Now this is like push maps. It's a little bit more tricky. Now we're going to look at even simpler examples, such as stuff like, for instance, here. Now, when we look at the map like this, the attacking team will always have a benefit over here, especially if there's a spawn hold going on. When we get spawn held by someone maybe holding close, this is why spawn holding is very greedy, is because if we get 1 trade, we probably just kill the spawn hold. They are forced to essentially back up and play over here now. Now, is that still bad for them? I mean, they're still maybe taking 30 seconds, 40 seconds of the clock, so it's not bad. But it could also be bad because if they don't back up and we just punish them, then we just get a bunch of all charge for free. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Like just like this, King's Row, is the same exact way. Spawn's right over here. They're holding close. We get a trade. We're in an advantageous state. Back up is 4. Quickly gab that person. We have 5 people. They have 4. Push forward. We can win. Okay. So, and if they don't back up and go over here, then we just push really hard. If they don't back up, if they start holding here and we have 5v4, we understand what they've lost, whether it's maybe a main healer, maybe it's a Winston, maybe it's a Sojourn. They have no one-tap potential. Our Sojourn can play more aggressive. Then we abuse that, and we take advantage of that. These are micro adaptations we play to our advantage. Now, we move to second point, which is a bit more interesting. If the fight is happening right over here, who has spawn advantage?
Enemy team.
The
or,
enemy
like,
team.
Defenders.
The defenders, right? So this is something to consider. If we are attacking and we're going here, it's not as bad as what maybe would be on third point, which we'll talk about in a second, but it's still not good either. So you need to keep that in mind. Likewise, if you're now looking to fight over here this last fight, and if ever you watched OWL, you'll notice that a lot of third points are hard to cap because people will intentionally go for trades whenever they're down. Whenever they're down alt economy or they're in a bad situation, Sojourn will hard flank. Somebody will try and make an insane play because if they do and they get the kill, then they're just in a really good spot because of spawns and they'll just probably end up holding. Okay. Any questions on this? Same thing on King's Row, first point trades, right? Right over here, sort of close for them, far for us. Right over here, very close for defenders. Likewise, if fights were over here, this is beneficial for attackers. And then, actually, I wonder if I can make this smaller. Let me see if I can do this. First point, right over here, beneficial for attackers, beneficial for attackers. Over here, beneficial for defenders, beneficial for defenders, beneficial for attackers. Notice how it's the start of each point and then the end of each point is beneficial for defenders. Likewise, is the same thing over here. Beneficial for attackers, beneficial for attackers, beneficial for defenders, beneficial for defenders, and I messed up, but and then over here too, just defenders, and this is attackers. Okay. So keep in mind what this means when we're defending, we may not favor literally hard holding over here. We might favor sometimes going over here for spawn advantage, or if we want to go for a really early fight here, have one fight here, and then go for a second fight over here, that's also valid because we can force 2 fights. But the problem is if we do this, we'll be retaking space here, and that's inherently difficult as well. Okay.
I feel like you can actually get like 3 fights there if you hold close.
If you hold like really close over here, yeah, you'll get like that. But yeah, okay. That's a different concept. So now Koth is a little bit more interesting. Why? Why is Koth interesting? And this goes into, what'd you say?
Those spawns with the same distance support.
So when we think about spawns, there are 3 different variables we have to think about: distance, mobility, and time, I think. So the first one is distance. Is like, is there a distance in the spawn? Who is the person who's actually dying? Like, what is their mobility? So the hero's mobility, and the time the person died. So this is like what matters. Have you played like before in 6-man comp? In Overwatch 1, specifically this map, you would see people just coming in here and literally OTs would go on forever because people would just keep popping in, popping in, popping in, popping in. And what's important to understand is keep track of like how much you're down and how much you're up, as well as the resources that you're up in and resources you're down in. If you don't have damage dealers, you're playing slower. You're trying to live till your damage dealers come back, right? If you have damage dealers, you're trying to hard push in and try and abuse the fact you have damage.